This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Darrel F.
Hi, my name's Darrel. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, it was hard for me to believe that walking into a place like this, my life was radically going to change for the better. You know what I mean? I really wanted it to change, but I just thought Alcoholics Anonymous seemed a little flimsy, like a last-ditch effort. But I'm here to tell you, man, it is the tools that Alcoholics Anonymous offers alcoholics are incredible, because I got sober April 1st, 1986. I was 23 years old, and it's funny, my life was I wouldn't show up to Alcoholics Anonymous at 23 if my life was great, but I was still having, is this really, am I really an alcoholic, And I could tell you my first meeting, like it was yesterday. It's funny, I was reading in the big book this story, Flooded with Feeling. I was reading it earlier. And, if you're new and you don't have a copy of the big book, get it. It's it's what, like $6.50? It's the price of a Mai Tai at Trader Vic's. It's the best investment you'll ever make. And I still read that big book. It just, all I suggest is just 2 pages a night. Anyone can read 2 pages a night, especially if you can't sleep. 2 pages of the big book and boom, you're out. But you know what? The joke's on us, really, because by reading the big book at night, little do I know, I'm like fooling myself into working the first 3 steps without even realizing it. I'm just doing it because I asked some jerk at a meeting said if I read this, I'll fall asleep. But what's happening is just by the fact that I'm opening up that book says to me, obviously I think I'm an alcoholic, because I'm going to look at this book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I have some hope that by reading this, even if it's because that guy at the meeting said read 2 pages, I have this tiny little bit of that around the corner brand of hope that motivates me into action without even realizing it. And I'm deciding to do something. Read it, which is step 3, action, And what happens is I tend to wake up feeling better the next day. I don't know why. I don't give a crap. Because when I was taking drugs, I didn't tell you how they got me high or what the magical effect was. I just knew they worked, you know what I mean? And I was like, gulp. At the end, I was even asking my friends, they'd be like, oh, man, the shit we took was horrible. And I was like, you still have some left? Yeah, man, it was crap. And I go, give me it. Gulp. I didn't even care if it made me feel shitty. I just didn't want to feel like me anymore, And I got to tell you, social drinkers don't feel that way about themselves. But backing up, and I was going to say, I was reading that book. In that story, Flooded with Feeling, I was reading this afternoon, and it said, most social drinkers don't remember their first drink. You know what I mean? Like that magical, it doesn't have like that magical effect. But I'll just back up and get to that in a minute, because when I was like 8 years old, I was one of these kids, like there was no way I'm going to drink alcohol. Seriously, I'm like, that stuff is crazy, because my mom drank alcohol, and let me tell you, from the outside looking in, it was pretty humiliating looking. It was humiliating for me. I don't know about it. It was embarrassing. We would have these assemblies at School 9, and we'd walk to school, and we'd have these assemblies, and all the other kids are running around, because I'm like 8 years old, and they're going, is your mommy coming? My mommy's coming. Is your mommy coming, Darrel? And I'm like, please, sweet Jesus, don't let my mommy come to this. Because all the mommies came to these things. So I'm on stage at this assembly, I kid you not, and all I'm thinking about, and this is like not normal for an 8-year-old kid, I've fricked the lines, all I'm thinking about is we're halfway through and she's not here. Is that Sex in the City? That is, right? That's the Sex in the City theme. That's pretty good. I like that. I hear that like every night. My wife can watch every single repeat of Sex in the City. Dun, 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 dun. So anyway, I was so I'm halfway through the play, and I'm thinking, okay, good, we're gonna make it, right? And sure enough, just as I'm thinking that, those big kachunka bars, at the fire doors goes kachunka, the doors open, everybody in the auditorium was woof, and looks at the back, and there's my mom, and her frosted hair is all batted out of shape. She's got a super tight sweater, those pedal pushers, those capri pants, heels, a purse, and she goes, "My baby!" And they all go, "Woof!" And I'm like, and I actually thought, I'm not kidding, I actually thought for like 3 seconds, there's 4 other kids up here, They might not know it's my mom. And then she just went, "Darrel." I was like, oh. I just wanted to like fall on my cardboard sword and end it, I was like, this is not good. And trust me, there was no mistake, it was me. You go back to, well, at that time, I don't even think there was an Italian kid in the state named Darrel, let alone in my school, right? And if you go, there probably still isn't. If you meet another Italian kid named Darrel, give him my condolences. That was another one of my mother's. Anyway, so it's not over. I go walking home. I'm like, oh my God. I go walking home, and there I start hearing the Brazil 66. It's blaring out of our house. I go inside. There's my mom, the typical stuff drunken moms do. "Come on, dance with me." I'm like, ugh. "All right, Mommy, I love you. Just please make this end." And then, but then at 5 o'clock, she'd have that profound personality change. My dad would walk in the door. Next thing you know, the cutlery drawer hits the floor. She's running around with a knife. And lady, I know alcoholic ladies. You don't really want to stab them. You just want to get their attention. You know what I mean? Sometimes accidents happen. Fortunately, they don't all the time. And then next thing you know, she gets frustrated with that idea because she really can't stab. So she decides to take off all her clothes and run out the door. And now my dad's like, "Darrel, Eric, we're losing." I'm like, what? I had a crush on Rhonda Mangles. She lived halfway down the block. Rhonda Mangles looked like this poster of Cher, that half-breed poster I had. Next thing you know, my mom's jumping hedges like a wild gazelle, naked, man. Porch lights are popping on, and I walk to school, right? And my dad's tackling my mom with a bathrobe on Rhonda Mangles' lawn. She's at the door with her parents, and I'm just thinking, I'm never drinking. There's no way, right? And my mom split. But here's the thing. You can tell yourself you're not drinking all you want. But if you got the disease of alcoholism and you take a drink, it's all over, man. Because when I drank, I felt nothing like my mother. You know what I mean? I actually remember thinking that. I'm going, I feel good when I drink. I'm not humiliating like that. Yeah, meanwhile, I'm like on the dance floor and I'd like almost fall, but try to turn it into a smooth move. I know all the tricks, man. But I'm nothing like my mother, And the funny thing is, you go to enough Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, you start hearing things, and you start learning. I may have I have over 24 years sober. I have over 24 years sober, but I still go to meetings. I'm not just a speaker at the Marina Center. I attend meetings here, you know what I mean? It's amazing I got asked to speak, because sometimes when secretaries see you sitting at a meeting, they don't think that you're really that sober. Only the speaker is. But we're all speakers, because we all have the experience of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know what I mean? And so I remember, my mom split, now I'm being raised by my father, and all our family was kind of falling apart by this time. My grandfather was murdered and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I was basically raised by my dad and his buddies. And what I was going to say, what I heard at meetings, because I attend a lot of meetings, and, you never know what you're going to hear at meetings that may help you, And one time I was at a meeting, and this guy started sharing about his father. He starts going, "My dad was an alcoholic, and I hated him." I'm like, "Oh, here we go. Grow some stones." That's, my head starts thinking, right? And I apply what I learned here. Darrel, take the cotton out of your ears, stuff it in your mouth, don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle, identify, don't compare, utilize, don't analyze. And I'm sitting there, and I'm so glad I listened to these tools. I didn't come here to change things. I came here to be changed. All these little slogans kept me in the seat. And then he went on to say, he hated his dad, all this stuff, because his dad was the alcoholic, and then it dawned on him that his dad didn't want to be an alcoholic either. And I went, holy shit, funniest thing. Neither did my mother. Do you really think my mother was trying to humiliate me? No, I can tell you exactly what my mother was doing, because I have done it. My mother felt so insecure about showing up at that play, probably thinking she's a horrible mother because the amount she drinks, so she has a few drinks to show up. And then she starts feeling so good, just like I would. You know, when I start drinking, that phenomenon of craving kicks in, and the selfish desire for me to feel even better pushes away the most significant things in my life. And then it dawns on her, I'm late for Darrel's play. And she's so excited, but half in the bag, and she just, oh, there he is. Was she really trying to meet me? No. You know? She was trying to express how much she loved me the best way she could. But at the time, at 8 years old, I don't know what the fuck's going on, and I shouldn't either. But you know what? I had the perfect mom. The perfect mom. And we'll get to that later, because if my mom wasn't the mom I had, I wouldn't have ended up in Alcoholics Anonymous at 23. Maybe I would have died first, who knows what. But everything worked out perfect. I am grateful, and I can honestly say, for every rotten, stinking thing that ever happened to me. You know what I mean? Because I have the most wonderful life today because of it. And I'm a lot more compassionate to people because of these experiences than I was before I had an objective view of them, which Alcoholics Anonymous and the steps gave me. You know what I mean? So I'm raised by my dad and his bunch of friends, and I mean, that's no party either, because my dad was one of these guys who really liked to bust my chops, you know what I mean? And he would love to do it in front of his friends. He was like a New Jersey New Ager, because he would say things like, think positive, you miserable fuck. What? Or another famous one of his things was, Jesus Christ, Darrel, you're smarter than that, you fucking idiot. I'm smarter, but I'm an idiot. I mean, but he would have these card games Thursday nights, every Thursday night at our house. And he would put me down somewhere. I would have given anything to be loved and accepted and admired by my father. And during these card games, I used to love these card games because me and my younger brother used to get to serve the screwdrivers to the guys while they played cards. And when I was like 14 years old, Lou Bertoni asked me, hey, little Fuzz, you want a drink? Because our last name's Fazzaro. You want a drink? And I said, sure. And we walked over, I'll never forget it. Just like it said in that story I read. Because what was about to happen was unbelievable. We walk up, it was Smirnoff, you know, in the big gallon glass jug. Tropicana orange juice came in a glass jug back then with a little indentation for your hand. I mean, I know it all. He pours the drink, gives it to me. I drink it, and let me tell you, it was like, I don't know how everything changed, but I was a different person. My father was busting my balls like, but now it was like this. I swear it was like slow motion in a movie where boof, 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 boof. They were like I was impugned to his like ball busting, and I was laughing along with it, and he liked that. I was finally the man I could never be before. But here's the problem. Something like that happens to an alcoholic, I don't forget it. And now I'm nothing without that. I need that now. That was the moment where I became dependent on it without even realizing it. Because in that instant, my mind said, this is it. This is the magic elixir. I could talk to girls. Listen, I would go to high school. Trust me, I'm no tough guy. There's tough guys in AA. You know, there's guys that'll come up here and tell you they took down 13 guys with a paper clip, right? I'm not that guy. You know, I'm the type of guy that like tries to show off and talks to the big guy who could take down 13 guys with a paper clip. And then all of a sudden I see that look in his eye like means this is it. You're going to get your head torn off. So what do? Just to get an idea of the type of guy I am, I do the fake like karate yell I saw on TV. I go, yeah. And then he's like, what? And then I run, you know? I mean, that's the type of guy I am. So like going to Clifton High School was like, you know, I'd see the guys over there, you know, with like the real Levi's, and my dad's buying me JCPenney plain pockets, so I'm like, they're better than me. People over there are like giggling, and I think they're laughing at me for some reason. And then like Rhonda Mangles would look in my direction, I'd be like, you know, I mean. But listen, I'm telling you, I drank once before school, and it was like, I swear, I was in my own music video. And this is the thing, like, it's like Rhonda Mangles, hey, and I'm marching down there, hey, guys, you know. This is the thing. The alcohol effect on my alcoholic brain affects my ego in such a way that it doesn't just make me feel like I measure up. It makes me feel like I'm just a little bit above them, but this is the best part. They actually believe everything about me that I believe. I mean, they believe it. I'm thinking they believe it. I'm thinking they think that guy is in his own music video. Fazaro is like the man. But see, this is not good. This is not good. This is not good because nothing was changing. Inside, the insecurities, the lack of faith in myself or even a higher power, the confidence, nothing was there. And instead of the illusion was, I'm feeling like I'm a part of this bunch now, but that's not the truth. It was insulating me. So I felt safe, but I wasn't changing. And you know, in Alcoholics Anonymous, we do these steps. You know, we come to Alcoholics Anonymous, I come to Alcoholics Anonymous and stop drinking. But that's not the problem. That was my medicine for my way of thinking. And my life never worked out the way it should have, I thought. You know, I never got the stuff that I deserved. You know, those guys got it, bastards, and I'd key their car. I mean, it was really sick. But I didn't understand that my environment coincides with my inner life. And if I don't change the inner life, then my environment is always going to suck. You don't believe me? Well, listen, I ended up living in Hawaii at 23. I bottomed out in freaking Hawaii. I mean, maybe you could believe, okay, 23, of course, he was living in New Jersey. Ugh. You know, no. I'm in Hawaii. When you're 23 years old, at the peak of your physical condition, and you're bloated, white, and your life sucks, it ain't the freaking environment, man. You know, something ain't right on the inside. You know? So, you know, that night changed anything. I could give you the perfect example, you know, of the phenomenon of craving and how destructive it is, you know, because when by the time I was 17, my dad was dying of cancer, and he was the only family I had, me and my brother. And so he's at home. He wanted to be at home, and he was only in his 30s. He died when he was 40. He just turned 41. But he's in his 30s, he's late 30, 40 years old. And we had him at the hospital, and now he's really bad. And you know when it's, you know, party's over. It's just like, you know, I may be lost in space, but you get that inner feeling, you know, like when you see your car, like at the parking lot, and you're like going, something ain't right with my car. And you're like, nah, it's fine. Then you walk up to it, and you realize someone broke into it. You know how you have that inner intuition? So I knew it was over. I had to call the ambulance. Long story short, the ambulance takes him away. But here's the problem with alcoholics, with people like us. We suffer from two symptoms that makes it very hard for people to help us or even want to help us. At least I know I got them, and they're bad. And what it is, especially at that stage, when we're not here yet, or when we're fairly new in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's arrogance and belligerence. And so the neighbors are gathering around, and I start feeling embarrassed because my dad, for some reason, because my dad's sick or dying, I don't know. And let me tell you, if I could go back in time right now to when I was 17, out on my front lawn, when Mrs. Calderon walked over and said, Darrel, is your father okay? What's going on? I saw the ambulance. If I could go back in time and tell Mrs. Calderon what I wish I could have said, which was, I don't know. I think he's going to die, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm all alone. But I didn't say that. I said, he's fine. Why doesn't everyone in this fucking neighborhood mind their own fucking business? That's what I said to Mrs. Calderon. So I called Frankie Dragato, my buddy, and I said, my dad's in the hospital, let's go. But here's the problem. Remember that first drink? Remember how I felt in high school? Remember how it magically makes everything okay and gives me the confidence? I thought it was giving me confidence to do things. It was insulating me. You know, it was taking away my ambition. It was taking away everything. So I said, let's just get a drink at the Stagger Inn and we'll go to the hospital. So we go have a drink. Just like everybody else who's an alcoholic, including my mother, I start getting the phenomenon of craving. And I start feeling good. You know, yeah, we'll go to the hospital, So we have another drink. Then Jeff Angelo shows up, and these are our well-intentioned friends, non-alcoholics who care about us. You know, if you're new and you're wondering if you're an alcoholic, buy the big book and start at chapter 3, because it has all these tricks in there. Forget about the front. I'm giving you permission to cheat. Start at chapter 3. All right? You know what I mean? All the little tricks. This is the type of guy I'd give my wallet to when I was going out drinking. I'm not drinking tonight. You know, I'd tell Jeff, hang on to my money, whatever you do, no more than $20. Yeah, sure. You know, and then like 15 minutes later, we're at Danceteria, and I'm like, come on, Jeff, I need some more money. You told me, man, no more money after 20. I'm only kidding, man. You know, it's another one of those tricks. So Jeff Angelo goes, Darrel, it's like 8, 9 o'clock. We got to go to the hospital. Shouldn't we go? And I go, no. Let's just go to the Stagger Inn. We're at the Grand Saloon. Let's go to the Stagger Inn. I remember this like yesterday. Because our intentions are always good, you know. But we don't get judged by our intentions, folks, you know. So that's why a lot of us, like me, end up at the end of the rope, sitting at the brig in Pearl Harbor going, why does this shit keep happening to me? You know, I'm a nice guy. So we go to the Stagger Inn. I'm having a few drinks. Now the clock's ticking. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And Jeff is pleading me. Darrel, let's go to the hospital. You know what I said to my best friend trying to help me? Jeff, I'm his freaking son. They'll let me waltz in that hospital any time I get over there. Fuck off. Well, you know the end of the story. I came walking home at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and my dad died alone in the hospital. He wasted 10 years of his life taking care of me and my little knuckle-headed brother, and I couldn't even be for him at the end because my selfish desire. It's just like the guy who says, honey, I'll be right home. I'm having one drink. You know? Did I feel bad? Here's the problem. The next day, oh yeah, I felt bad, but what do I use for my solution? I needed a little pot, a little drink. And this is the problem. The worse it got, the more impossible it is to stop. You know, I can understand it if it got better and it was impossible to stop. But the problem is, the insanity is, the worse it gets, the more impossible it gets to stop. That's what they mean, I think, by insanity. You know what I mean? It's in there. So, you know, and if you're having trouble with step 1, you know, like, powerless over alcohol and our lives have become unmanageable, I don't know if my life's unmanageable. And my sponsor said, why don't you try substituting the word unmanageable with the word unbearable? Is your life unbearable? And I got it. Because it was unbearable. You know? And that's what they mean. That's what they mean, folks. They don't mean you could file your bills well. You know, they mean that inner feeling of, when's it going to end? I'm just surviving. Social drinkers don't feel that way, you know? So, make a long story short, powerless over alcohol, yeah. Why? Because if you do a step 4, you'll see it, just like I see it. Meaning, and a step 4 isn't about punishment. A step 4 is about an objective view to gain some mature insight about what the fuck was I doing and why was I such a failure at everything I tried. See, that feeling, that instantaneous high that I get that changes everything, or seems to, in my mind, that I get from drugs and alcohol, there's another story in the big book. It's called Window of Opportunity. Another good one, short. And you know what? I used to be a punk too, believe it or not. And I would think, I ain't reading that shit. You hear a jerk like me from the podium, this old battle axe, what does he know? Of course he's happy. The guy's knocking on death's door, for God's sakes. I'm still young. No, you're fighting to die is what you are. Surrender. Read the stupid shit. And you know what? You might just become enlightened, because this is the thing. I joined the military because I thought I needed a little discipline for my drinking. That's another big mistake. Just to give you an idea, I went through the alcoholic list. Marine Corps, no frickin' way. Army, the commercials look too dusty. Navy, 6 months on a ship, I'll never last, right? Air Force. Now, here's where it starts getting tricky. Because the Air Force, after my dad died, I kind of selfishly kind of shoved my brother into joining the Air Force. Why? Did I think he'd love the Air Force? Did I care if he loved the Air Force? No. I don't want the responsibility of dealing with my younger brother. So I was a little bit, and by this time, I'm writing letters to my younger brother about how great I'm doing. Because I'm the older brother. So I can't tell him the lights are off, I'm getting kicked out. I'm now not in college. I'm working pumping gas, So I didn't want to bump into him. And then it dawns on me, United States Coast Guard. Miami Vice, little suntan, little speedboat. Right on, right? Yeah. They don't tell you about the 368-foot Coast Guard cutters on the Bering Sea. Yeah, nothing a little NyQuil can't make go away, And let me tell you, NyQuil over ice looks just like those tropical drinks at Trader Vic's. It does. It's crazy. But here's what it did to me. Before I joined the military, and right around the time my dad died, I got accepted to a school because I had some talent in art, right? And what they do is, for the freshmen, they take the freshmen to the senior exhibit, because, seeing what you'll be capable of doing in a couple of years is inspiring to most well-adjusted freshmen. But I swear, I walked into the gallery, and I looked at all this beautiful artwork, and you know what I thought? What's the use? And why did I think, what's the use? Because I'm an alcoholic. What the fuck does Fazaro mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. Because I was so used to fooling myself that the high comes quick. The reward comes quick. Because as soon as I drink, everything's cool. I could hate your guts, but if we have a drink together and I start feeling hot, I love you, man. It changes everything. But life doesn't work like that. So I became fooled by this conditioning to think, if it takes more than 3 steps to get there, what's the use? If I can't go from 0 to CEO in like 3 days, fuck it. Am I powerless over alcohol? Yeah. Because was I really living my life? I was accepted to that school because of talent. And I said, but I didn't. When you're drinking, you feel the sense of accomplishment without having to accomplish things. You just wear the black outfits and tell the girls, yeah, I'm an art major. But I knew the truth. And that's another thing. You hear people go, denial, 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 whack. What the fuck? Denial doesn't mean you're blacked out and you're not responsible. And I was in denial. Whew. No, man. These guys, I was so grateful I bottomed out in the military. Because these, Marines, there was, no Coast Guard guys getting sober. I was, the only little queen in the freaking group, right? And these Marines were boom, boom, boom. And I needed that. Denial doesn't mean you don't know what's going on. No. Denial means Denial means I know the truth, but I don't want to believe it. And I'm going to rationalize and justify and eventually have to drink to make it all go away. I ended up pumping gas because, of course, my drinking took me right out of that school, just a few miles away from the school. And I'm thinking, I had to go to the bathroom a lot because when people would come in from the school that I recognized, I'd be embarrassed, so I'd hide out. And one day I ended up by the pumps and someone asked me, hey, what are you doing? We haven't seen you this semester, And you know what I said to him? I said, that freaking school, that preppy-ass school, let me tell you something. I make more money managing this gas station than you'll ever make graduating from that dump. But I wasn't managing. I was a freaking minimum wage gas jockey, That's a horrible way to live, though. That's the way we live. The greatest thing, this guy, I mean, I could tell you 1,000 stories, but, a lot of the things I learned early on, and, they even say the things you learn in your first 90 days, you know what to do. Going in and out and back to a treatment center, you're not going to learn anything new. You just got to put it into practice. If you put this into practice, amazing things happen. And if you want to believe it, it'll happen. It's that simple. When they talk about finding power greater, forget the religion, forget whatever bothers you about that idea. Because let me tell you something. The God you're having a problem with isn't the one we're talking about. You know what I mean? I mean, it ain't that at all. It ain't that at all. And so these guys told, this one Marine guy, Mike Urton, who's still sober, one of the things they taught me was to do a morning routine, to do a morning routine. What's a morning routine? I know, guys, I meet people all the time. I don't have a morning routine. I did my third step with my sponsor at the food court on my knees 20 years ago. And I'm like, what? Every day. It says in the book, in the 12 and 12, how to practice step 3. It's the last little paragraph. And it says in moments of indecision or frustration, we pause, say the serenity prayer, restraint and redirect, ask for some peace. Oh, but he said, listen, he goes, because I had a court-martial coming up. I had some real problems, right? I'm not going to do good in Leavenworth, and I know that. So I told him I got real problems. He goes, well, are you doing your morning routine? He knew I wasn't doing a morning routine. And, he said, here, and he gave me some prayers from the big book, nothing scary. I mean, he said the 3rd step prayer, 7th step prayer, read page 417. That's the page on acceptance, little simple shit. On page 99 in the 12 and 12, the St. Francis prayer, say the serenity prayer, ask for help, and should shower and shave and start your day. And he said, listen, it only takes 7 minutes. I timed it just for you, because I guess I had that look like, I got a lot of shit to do. And listen, I can tell you now, there's 2 things I have done 100% my entire sobriety. Not drink and use, and my morning routine. And you go, oh, what's the morning routine? It's in the freaking book. Everywhere in the book it says, and upon awakening. And remember, when you first start your day with prayer and meditation, people act like I'm talking about when I bring up a morning routine or doing morning prayers or anything, they look at me like it's an outside issue. And I'm like, no, man, I'm your friend. But he put it this way. He said, look, he goes, if you do this morning routine, just 7 minutes, you'll be amazed at how much it'll transform your life for the better in just 30 days. And he said this. Now, this is a guy who's been in the Marine. I mean, this guy's a real hero. He was in Vietnam twice. He had all the tattoos. He was everything of a man I couldn't be, or thought a man should be. And he said, when was the last time you woke up and were kind to Darrel? And he said, if you can't wake up just 7 minutes earlier to be loving to yourself, then there's nothing I or anyone else can do for you. And when a guy with balls like that tells you something like that about love, I don't know about you, but I was sold. He also said, and listen, Fazaro, you want to know how a coward goes through life? I'll show you. Like this. I spent my whole life like this. And it's fucking exhausting. And he says, you know how a man goes through life? And I only learned this in Alcoholics Anonymous? Like this. Wouldn't you like to be able to do this? And let me tell you, even doing this now, yes, I want to be able to do that. And if it only takes fucking 7 minutes a morning to do this, to get there, I'll do it. And something happened. He was right. I showed up to my court-martial. And when I was at my court-martial, they were asking me, Fazaro, isn't it true? And I said, yes, sir. Not, yes, but you don't understand. My grandfather was murdered and my mommy was an alcoholic. I've said all that before 1,000 times. I've used all that shit. But let me tell you, the more I make excuses, even today, when I do my morning, my third step prayer, relieve me of the bondage of self, I say, relieve me of the small, excuse-making, frustrated little boy, and give me the strength to show up for life today and achieve the things that you really want me to achieve so I can be an example to others so they can go, wow, that guy was a sick, it's like, wow, low price. It's like, wow, that guy was a sick bastard, and now look, he can balance his checkbook, his wife loves him, that's what this is about. That's practicing these principles in all our affairs. That's being an example, So these things got my attention. I was sold, And I didn't care if I went to Leavenworth because it was the first time in my life that I felt free. You know what I mean? I started thinking crazy thoughts like they might have meetings in Leavenworth, or I could start a meeting. I was telling my sponsor, and my sponsor says, that's great. And just to wrap it up, a lot of amazing things. I can go on and on about, everything. A perfect example, getting back to my mother, we got to take the word blame out of our life. It says it in the book. I can't afford that luxury. And about 8 years ago, I'd been in touch. I do these steps, like they said, our life depends on it. Another thing that happened is, this disgruntled, I was in the Coast Guard. By the time I was in the brig, my rank was lower than I was in boot camp. That's insane. Yeah, that's it. By the time I left, they had called me back to give me a medal the day that we bombed the first Desert Storm, for just showing up. I remember telling my son, I go, I don't know what I did. He said, you know what? Because I used to sit in bars drinking, hoping the place would catch on fire. You know why? Because then I would save everybody, and then they'd see the real Darrel Fazaro is a hero. So maybe you thought that too. I don't know. But he was telling me, he goes, no, Darrel. He goes, you showed up every day and did what was in front of you to do. And he goes, that's the real heroes. You just did your duty. So my mom, I'm in touch with my mom, all throughout my whole sobriety. I call her, I love you. I'm here to be a good son. I don't care about what job she did as a mom. You know what I mean? And so about 8 years ago, just so you know I'm not perfect, I started remembering I lied to my father and blamed my mom for something. And what it was my dad found out where my dad hid his card playing money. I'm like 9 or 10, right? And I'm no idiot, You don't take the paper money because he'll know, right? So I take the change. So I'm stealing $10 rolls of quarters. And back in like 1972, 73, a $10 roll of quarters is worth like $7,000. You know what I mean? It's a lot of money. So I'm like buying Starburst for all the kids at School 9, right? And I'm like the guy. Well, this goes on for a couple of weeks. And one day I'm walking home for lunch and my dad's car is parked there. And I'm like, oh, this ain't good, right? So I get up to the door and I'm thinking I'm a dead man, and he swings the door open. I'm just coming up the stairs. He goes, I got to talk to you. And I'm like, oh no. And he goes, someone's been stealing my card playing money. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, have you seen your mother around here lately? And I said, yeah. I'm like 9 years old and I threw my mom under the bus. So anyway, I started thinking about this like 8 years ago, and I go, those quarters, do I need to make amends for those quarters? And my rationalizing, justifying, sober mind is going, you were a kid. She left you. It's not a big deal. If you start having to rationalize or justify an amends, it means you got to make the amends. So I call her and I go, Ma, yeah. And I just get right to it. I said, remember a while back when Dad blamed you for stealing those quarters? Yeah. I said, well, I lied and I was stealing them. And then, this is the profound effect this program has. Because then she says, we do crazy things when we're young. And I said, yeah, Ma, I'm sorry. And all of a sudden, she started getting choked up. And she says to me, now remember, my mom split when I was 8. She was gone. And she'd show up once in a while, or she'd get caught banging the fireman. It wasn't good. It wasn't nice. It was embarrassing, humiliating, and I hated her for a while as a kid, you know. But all of a sudden, she starts tearing up, and she goes, you know, I got to tell you something. I don't want to go to my grave with you boys thinking that I didn't love you, because leaving you two boys was the worst thing I ever did, and I don't want you to think that I didn't love you. And I said, Mommy, I love you. But this is the point. This program goes opposite to the way we think. Because, you know, if I go, no, she owes me an amends. I'm not talking to her until she says she's sorry to me. I'm going to die, man. I want to go through life like this. She would have never done that. By making my amends, cleaning my side of the street, it opened it up for her. This shit happens everywhere in my life. You know, every day I'm practicing step 3, because every day throughout my day, let me tell you, there's times where I'm thinking, God, I'm on the line at Starbucks. I got to be at work. You say a few pleasantries and have your money ready and pick out the drink. You know what you're going to do. You've been talking all line. You should know what you want. And then I go, no, Darrel, that's the dubious luxury. It doesn't feel good anyway. So what do? I go, God, give me help. Look for something to do that'll take my mind off. Oh, this lady's struggling to get into Starbucks. I help her, and I immediately start to little things. Just, you know, let me tell you, if you don't have anything to give anyone, give them a smile. You know, there's a lot of languages in the world, but a smile speaks them all. You know, and I'm so grateful that people, you know, it was people with a friendly smile that welcomed me when I got here, because this has been the most wonderful life. I couldn't even imagine living the life with the freedom I have and not needing to drink, but not just that, not like wanting to drink, because I don't want this to go away, you know? So thanks a lot.